Right on. A round of applause for the filmmakers and film proprietor. My name is Christian Leone. I'm chief programmer here at Arena Cinema Hollywood. Thank you for coming out, supporting independent film on this Friday night. I want to introduce Mr. Dan Eberly.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you for having us. All right, guys. Well, we have numerous cast members that are nice enough to come out to LA from New York. Some of them live here now, but most of them don't. So I'm just going to bring everyone up. Whoever wants to come up. Some of you are shy. Nick. But please. Thank you. You too, Matt. So normally we do like a kind of like a moderated thing, or we'll have like some plants in the audience. We didn't really do that this time. We didn't have time to think about it, or we just didn't think about it. But I'll just say a couple little preamble before we sort of open it up. One of the most interesting anecdotes about the movie from like a cast and character standpoint is really Alexandra Hellquist, the amazing Alexandra Hellquist. This film originally, the character I play, Crowley, and the character she plays, she was originally Sophia. She was actually supposed to be a Russian expatriate and had a very different attitude in the original iteration of the script. And it was a bit of a darker character and more of like a, kind of almost like a mirror image of the character that I play. And Alexandra was the last person to audition. We were auditioning person after person after person for this role. And saw some really talented people, but nobody really was, we just didn't feel like we found the right person. And we didn't want to settle, and Alexandra got in touch with us, but she didn't have time to audition when we were actually holding auditions. But she was very insistent. She wrote these long, effusive letters to me, based on like these long letters based on nothing except for like a character breakdown, like a paragraph. So finally, and she was just so charming. I was like, well, I really should talk to this person, and we really hadn't found the one yet. She had a great reel, but you never really know with actors. They don't know, if they're going to work out, if they can really do it. And anyway, long story long. We talked on the phone for like 2.5, 3 hours about this character. I actually had sent her the script because for this role, I really wanted the people who were interested in playing this part to really know what they were getting themselves into, to know, obviously everything that is involved, and to hopefully be, fully inspired and jump in. So in any case, Alexandra had read it and she was like, it's really good, but I have this idea. And the idea was a completely different kind of character that was not at all in the script. Now,
I'm not sure, I think it wasn't.
you can live with this in a moment, but anyway, so we had talked about a different version of Sophie, and she just had all these great ideas that were just nothing like what was in the original piece. And the more that I talked to her, the more exciting it was that she would have this, that she would come in with this complete and total contrast to kind of what we had going. And this is just an incredibly dark film with very, very dark characters that are really all sort of buried in their own thing. And this one character is like this light source in the story. And really, it's really a story about people that are kind of searching for a way out or a way through their situation that they're in. And the character of Sophie is really the one that is not subjugated in some way. So it did make sense that she would have a very different attitude. And really the movie would not, I think, be the special thing that it is, in my view, without the contribution of Alexandra. And it's really just because she is just such a creative powerhouse and really just an amazing performer. She came in and we didn't have the, she didn't have a script to audition with. She just had this idea. She came in and improvised 3 or 4 scenes with nothing but her imagination and some like basic motivations. And I just remember Danielle was there holding the dog and just watching me with this completely stupid grin on my face throughout the whole thing, totally not able to hold my own with this person. It just like came in completely inhabiting this
You
individual.
let me slap you.
That's true. Anyway, but this whole exercise was an extremely collaborative endeavor, really, from the get-go. I worked with Nick before we actually go back to our first, it was your first, no, it wasn't your first feature, you were in some another thing, yes. So it was my first full-fledged feature. Nick was in it. It'll never be released, and that's for the best. But it goes back a long way, and we've both grown a lot since then, and we wanted to work together. And basically, Nick came to a screening like this of my last film, Cut to Black, and sort of just walked right back into my life without any kind of cue. And I had this script, and I was like, Nick, I really want you to be in this thing. But I have a couple different parts in mind for you, and the two that I remember him for were Misha and Greer, and I remember asking, well, which one do you identify with most? And you were like, yeah, both of them. I'll do whatever. Nick is a guy who is, he's quite a character naturally, and I really feel like you had created this entire kind of universe around this individual, and we don't, the entire film is very elliptical. There's not a tremendous amount of information presented. It is largely, the subtext of the story. So, and that can be really fertile ground for an actor of Nick's talent, who has this amazing imagination. He's a filmmaker and director himself, and he knows that I'm not going to get in the way of these things. And he came in, he had shaved this thing into his head, he had this Band-Aid on his face, and there was a whole story behind all of it, and it really didn't matter that it wasn't in the film. It was just another small detail of this character's life outside of the film. And that's really the entire the entire cast of characters is like that in this movie, because they're kind of these archetypal characters. You feel like you know them when you meet them. You have a lot of expectations about what they're going to do, what they're going to be like, and then hopefully as the story progresses, you get a very different take on them. Maybe you were right about what you thought about them in the first place, but I feel like we get to know these people in a way that maybe wouldn't in a typical film of this ilk. Did you guys want to say anything?
Thank you, all of you. This is my first premiere. Thanks so much. It's wonderful. This has been a joy, and it's amazing to see it be real. So thank you all for being part of that. Okay.
Thank you too. I'd like to thank my folks for coming out, and friends that I haven't seen in a while. And it means a lot that you're all here. And, yeah, thanks.
So we have a little bit of time left. Does anybody have any questions, or anybody else want to thank everyone? Comments?
How many days of shooting did you have?
How many days of shooting this? The principal photography was probably a total of 30 days and change. We shot it in two-week sprints, and then we probably shot another week and a half of pickups. But the sequence at the end in the forest was probably the most intense part of that, and that took just under a week to shoot, and we could have been out there for a month. It's funny, like the thing probably lasts for like, it could have been maybe 10 minutes total of screen time, but it took just everything that you see is everything that we shot, so it's very little left behind. Anyone else?
Yeah, thank you so much for exposing my nephew to the dark things in life.
Yeah. Well, when I was 16, I would have been very happy if somebody brought me yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to ask Nick why he, what made you identify with the dirty cop? Is there a story?
No, not necessarily. It's the first time I played a bad guy before, so I think I'm nice generally in life, so it's fun exploring the opposite side of things. But yeah, Dan kind of just let me have at it, weird lollipop stuff, and I don't know, yeah.
You showed up with the lollipop.
I didn't know that you were going to do that.
Yeah.
And Alexandra Kelleru, who's not here today, unfortunately, she did not know either. And I remember and the thing is, Nick is a total sweetheart, and like he's not the kind. I mean, there are performers that who are playing like a very confrontational or a tough role, and they will kind of carry that throughout, and get into that. I've worked with people like that before. Nick is not that guy. At all, so I wasn't really sure how it was going to go, but I also didn't want to mess it up. I was like, this could be really, really cool. And that's the thing, is that like, I wish I could take credit for that great idea, but it's just like a very, well, it wasn't terribly subtle, but it was just a small idea that really drove home the dynamic. And I think one of the things that makes Greer such an interesting bad guy is that he's not altogether, he's not exactly a good person or anything, but you didn't really play him like a villain. You played him like a fun-loving guy who probably had all personal problems. Anyone else? Oh.
The theme of addiction seemed to go through it a lot. Did that mean something to you when you were creating it? Did you have something else in mind with the addiction? Because everyone seemed to have one.
Yeah. Well, Nick can sort of speak to the Greer thing, because I know that you had actually put a great deal of thought into it. That component of Greer. For my character, Crowley, I don't know that. I feel like, Crowley is definitely like a guy who is has a certain kind of predilection, you could say, towards something that's unusual. I wouldn't necessarily call Crowley's personality terribly addictive, as much as it is sort of a longing for some kind of like human intimacy. That's sort of like the interesting part of the character for me, because he's this kind of archetypal tough guy who in a different kind of movie would never be vulnerable at all. And I love the idea of taking that kind of person, that sort of framework, and then putting him in totally vulnerable situations that were, made the audience a little bit uncomfortable and like weird, like what the hell are we watching? And then have this sort of almost like adolescent, like concept of love and romance, and he really buys into this fiction that Sophie creates, and that's kind of her job, is sort of dialing into what people want. So I don't think that Crowley is necessarily like there's an addictive element to that, as much as just like a kind of undeveloped, like arrested development aspect to his psychology, where he is trying to compensate for this thing and kind of like, sort of throwing these haymakers at life, trying to just like spark this life inside of him. So it's probably not the healthiest way to go about it, but it is a way. Did you want to talk about Greer and drugs?
What's?
I just wondered about the through line of addiction.
I mean, I just kind of pictured Greer being, it's the last couple days of his life when the film starts. He's seeing the end process of his life. The scar actually, or the shaved headline thing. I'd imagined originally that it was a knife wound or something kind of crazy like that, but it came out looking more like a '90s. Like a Kid and Play or whatever, Vanilla Ice or something like that. So I imagine him being in an apartment and falling asleep after drinking too much. So, getting a prank played on him, getting a line cut, waking up, going to check it out in the bathroom, slipping, hitting his head on the sink. And, I don't know. So that's it.
That's good. So drugs clearly do play an important role in this. No, I mean, it's definitely like a through line in all of my work, but I mean, for me, I think it's more of a metaphor of, some kind of escape or some kind of need for relief. But I mean, and that's pretty basic, obviously. But in this particular film, it's really more about, to me anyway, it's more about subjugation and subjugation by way of like, people really lording power over each other in some kind of way. The drug angle was more just, in most of the drug use in this movie, in my opinion, and again, it is an elliptical narrative, so there are many versions of the truth, and that's part of what makes the film interesting, I think, as an audience, is that you can decide what this is, or you can kind of project your own meaning onto it. But obviously, there's a tremendous amount of drug use in the film, and I feel like it's more recreational than.
Well, I meant there was drug use, but there was many types of addiction. I thought addiction itself was a through line. So drugs were just one small aspect.
Yeah, I can dig it. I definitely think that. It's a big theme, but I feel like it's more about the kind of bonds, and so drug addiction or any kind of addiction could be in that. And you could even really look at some of the relationships as being kind of addictive relationships too, like Greer's strange kind of codependence with Amanda. There is potentially addictive overtone with that, possibly. But it's definitely there. Absolutely right.
And we have time for one more.
Oh, sure. In the back here.
First of all, it's a great film, great performances, Alexander Nick, wonderful job. Dan, you also did a great job. Talk to me about your process. Like, you are so many hyphenates and you're so talented in all of these different facets. What's the process in, a truncated time frame that we have here on this last question, but how do you get from that script to what we just saw here?
It's a big question. I think I know the answer. And really what it comes down to is that, these kinds of films, not these kinds of films, but rather these films that I'm actually making myself are, I think that they are really integrated into, my personal aesthetic. In other words, these things have been developing for a long time in me, and so they're so integrated, and my understanding of them is so integrated, it's actually quite easy to do all of these things, I think. I think it would be much harder if somebody gave me a script and said, here, do what you always do, but here is a thing that you've never thought about in your life. I think that would, I'm not saying that I couldn't, but it would be, I think, more laborious to do that in some ways. The division of labor in film making, film production, that whole process, it exists for a reason. It is a great way to make sure that you come out with a symmetrical sort of quality controlled product at the end. But when it comes to like something akin to a personal expression, sometimes it's better to sing your own song. It might not be you might not be the best singer in the world, you might not be the best guitar player in the world, but I think that when you have the technical facility to pull off and sort of deliver something that is true and honest, even if the audience doesn't like it or it's not their thing, I think that they respond to it. And they might not respond positively, but there is a true response. And so if you can deliver a moment of truth, then people, I think, feel something. And it's different than when it is more of an assembly line kind of thing. So I think it's a unique situation that is not easily replicatable if you take sort of my participation from the inception onto the end out. I think that you can kind of break the link and it becomes more difficult. So I hope that kind of answers your question. Oh.
I'm just going to add that Dan, while singing his own song, also allowed all of us to sing our songs in a way that very few directors, collaborators have done in my experience, and that is a real gift. And yeah, I think we really got a chance to play and to find our own voices, and that was wonderful. So thank you.
You're welcome. I think that does it. We're actually going to go to a chicken whistle around the corner, so if any of you would like to talk more, we will be there, and we'll be drinking.
Yes. Oh my God. Sorry.
Thanks again, everybody. Thanks.
As a reminder, everyone, the film is playing here through Thursday, so it's here for the week. Please tell your friends about it.